Hey, today I want to talk about beliefs and assumptions about the world and about life, and especially about the spiritual path. Growing up from the very beginning, we get inundated with concepts. Our parents hold up a apple and say red apple, or they count one, two, three. You learn the ABCs and the one, two, threes, and starts very basic and it builds into very complex structural layers of thought, beliefs, and assumptions about the world. And those formative years really can carry over into your life all the way into adulthood, all the way to old age and death if they're not looked at. So we can have beliefs that are very tame, not a big deal. Um, I like the color blue better than red. And you can believe that because of your favorite sports team is blue, wears blue jerseys or whatever. And then maybe you meet the love of your life and she has a red dress on. And from then on, you're like, oh no, red's my favorite color. So it's not a big deal to change that belief. Doesn't there's not much identification with it. There's not much emotion attached to it to change a belief like that. Um, so we can also have negative beliefs about ourselves based on how we were treated. Something like I'll never amount to anything because a teacher told you that, or maybe your dad or mom didn't treat you well, told you couldn't do things, you were dumb. So you developed the belief that was like, I am worthless. These are much more serious beliefs than I like blue over red or chocolate over vanilla ice cream. They both inform our reality and make up how we perceive things, but some are more serious than others. But then, especially when it comes to the spiritual path and what's going on here, then we have assumptions. These are filters that are so bedrock that they literally inform every other belief. All the other beliefs sit on top of this frame or this lens that we're viewing reality from. A big assumption would be I'm a human being on planet Earth. You were born and told right from the very beginning that you were a name, a baby, a human, and that you were born on this planet Earth. And that's what everybody assumes. It is such a deep assumption that it's not even questioned at all. And then everything operates from that frame. Every belief that's within that operates from that lens right off the bat. So they're very rarely questioned. Like, that's why they're called assumptions. They're just assumed. But when you're doing this kind of work and you really get the urge to find out what's going on here and who you are, you really have to start to look at those assumptions and really question them. Another assumption is I'm a separate person in this separate world. And everything you do comes from that lens. And you assume that there's a separate me behind the eyes in your head. And it's going about the world inside the body. And things are happening to him or her separately. That assumption informs every other part of your experience and every other belief. And it goes from there. And you construct your algorithm with these beliefs. So when you start to look at these things and you start to take responsibility for your experience and what it has turned into, You rarely question it if your life is really successful. Or you have a good building, your parents treated you well and installed good beliefs about the world. You usually live out your loop without questioning. Maybe at some point, if you get everything you want and you're still not happy, maybe you'll question. But I think most people that are just living out their regular lives don't ever look at any of these assumptions and really don't look at most of their beliefs. They just think that's how things are. But if you're really called to look at this and you're really interested in spiritual awakening, you must get under these beliefs and assumptions. And the best way that is done is in your direct experience. Catching a belief operating in the moment that it's happening is the best way to deconstruct it. Because when you do that, you're not looking from within the algorithm. You have stepped out of it and seen with fresh eyes, the eyes of reality. It's real easy to throw your hands up and say, I don't know what's happening here. I shouldn't say it's easy. It's very hard, a lot of suffering. It's very easy to say, like, I don't know what's happening. Why is this happening to me? There's a whole bunch of layers in that, just that question right there, that there's a me that this is happening to, that it's deserved in some way. So when you really start to get under this stuff, you can really destabilize your experience. Because to me, the human experience is made up of all these flashing thoughts and beliefs. And a belief is a thought you keep thinking, or a packet of thoughts that seem to arise together that you keep thinking. And you think them deep enough, they become assumptions. If they're given to you by someone of authority, you don't even question them if you trust that person. Or it's what society says is true, so it must be true. Or a political party, or a religious authority, or 5 of your friends, even. It doesn't take much. It takes a whole lot to step away from that. And as Anthony DeMello says, pull the tentacles of society out of you. That can be extremely difficult. This conditioned loop that most people are in is how the game is played, and most people hit their mark without even realizing it. But when you start to do that, it can be there's a lot of pressure, and the conditioning can really kick up and try to hold you in place with emotion. So I've already made a video about drawing a line in the sand here and really looking at your processes, and that's absolutely true. But this main part of the video I want to talk about, that I brought this up, is that there are these assumptions about the world, like I'm a human being on planet Earth, or I'm a separate self inside of a body, that are just assumed, that need to be looked at really closely if you hope to get under any of this. And if you can get to right there in immediacy and gain enough awareness, concentration, and attention, if you put your attention on it long enough as it's starting to come up, there will be a space that develops that slows time down and allows you to look at these. Do whatever you have to do to pull them apart. Write down something like, I'm a human being on planet Earth, and then write out why you know that's true. Is it true? Jeb McKenna talks about this with autolysis. Try to write something that's true. You write all the assumptions about why I'm a human being on planet Earth is true. And when you start to do this and you take it seriously, you will start to unravel where some of your beliefs come from. It is a big spider web of energetic netting that holds your experience in place with lenses of filters and organizations of thoughts. It's the very fabric of the experience of the relative. But the thing about beliefs is when you're doing this work in particular, no belief can stand up to a direct encounter with reality. The beliefs are seen as energetic and empty and changeable. They don't feel so rock solid. Beliefs feel rock solid in your experience because they're backed up by repeatedly thoughts combined with emotional glue. And those two together create identification. And then it's just assumed. And then a big clue is that you will find yourself speaking your beliefs all day long. You may not even realize it. They just tumble right out of your mouth. Practice first if you need to. Practice listening to the people around you. Listen to their beliefs. You can catch them a lot easier than yours. They will tell you what they believe about reality with their words all day long. Man, I can't get ahead. Rich people suck. You know? My wife gets on me all the time. I think she hates me. This shit always happens to me. You will listen, hear them speak their narratives, and their beliefs will shine right through. And there's no judgment there because you're doing the same thing. But as a practice, you can start to listen to others because it's easier to pick up. And then at the same time, turn that awareness towards yourself and start seeing what you believe about reality. Start pulling that apart. There's really nothing to do here. Practices like meditation and inquiry are simply designed for you to see how reality is constructing the relative. And the ultimate assumption is that there's a separate person. That's an assumption that informs your entire life. So when you really start to do this, you will definitely destabilize things because you are messing with your reality tunnel, with the very fabric of what your existence is projected to be. But if you're suffering in a certain place, that's where you look. If you have a belief in exercise for your body, and you have a belief in exercising every day at the same time at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you do that, there's nothing wrong with that belief, right? That belief is a tool. That belief supports your experience. It does not cause suffering. It's like an energy packet you've placed in your web of conditioning and algorithm. It is like an energy packet that's placed and doesn't have to be thought about or looked at because it serves you. But if there's thoughts and beliefs that are not serving you and making you suffer, you can look at an outside agent like God or your parents or the government or Republicans or Democrats and blame them and stay in that thought loop of identification. Or you can take responsibility and see the projection of your world and the flavor of your algorithm and your web of patchwork energetic, belief structures. and start to pull them apart and take responsibility where you're suffering. And when you get good at that, you can start catching it happening in real time. And even the assumptions about time and space can start to crumble and be seen through. And eventually, the separate self can be directly looked at as well and pulled apart with these thoughts and beliefs that make them up and the sensations that make up this reality. You start asking questions like, what is sound? What is thought? Thought is just a word. Thought is a mysterious happening we call a thought, and it's real easy to categorize it as a thought and let it go. But it's this strange, mysterious, luminous happening that's quite unexplainable. And yet, organizationally, you can see how the five aggregates make up our experience of life. And it goes deeper into that with dependent origination and all that kind of stuff. But just start with the beliefs that are making you suffer in the present. I'm not saying it'll be easy all the time, but with practice and with doing whatever it takes, whether it's writing it down or therapy, to look at these processes, you can pull them apart and see what's happening underneath.